So when I first heard the name Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ, in my ignorance I wondered, how could a saint be called a fool? How could that be how he's remembered? Because obviously in my eyes, being called a fool, it's not a good thing, right? And yesterday my ignorance was put to shame because I actually binge watched a few documentaries on Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ, as humility has been something that's been on my mind since I entered the Orthodox Church, and I've been doing my best to try understand humility and understand how humility itself could manifest into my own life. And yesterday I learnt about the humility of Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ. And some of the things that Saint Gabriel inspired me with was how I saw myself and how I allowed the judgment of others, or my presumed judgment of others, control me. For example, when I go Divine Liturgy, I often try wear my best clothes, and part of the reason is because I'm going Divine Liturgy and I want to look good for Christ. But also, let's be real, it's because I want to look well dressed in front of people, and I want to make sure people see me in my best look. I don't want to look like a tramp, right? And then I heard the story of Saint Gabriel where he was in Divine Liturgy one time and he started doing roly-polies around Divine Liturgy. And some people who knew Saint Gabriel just saw it for what it was. They knew what he was doing. And some of the people in the Divine Liturgy saw it as scandalous. It was a disgrace that he was doing roly-polies in Divine Liturgy. And there was a group of them from the Divine Liturgy afterwards discussing what Saint Gabriel had been doing. And they were judging him, saying how much of a disgrace it was foolish. And by God's providence, Saint Gabriel pulls up in a taxi, gets out, and he goes up to the group and just pokes his head in and says, "Are you judging me?" And it really made me think about how the judgment of others really doesn't mean anything. You know, if anything, it's inspired me to really stop thinking about the clothes I wear or how the world sees me in my looks, because really what matters is what's in the heart, what's within us, and our actions. What we wear and how we look is really meaningless. It's all going to disappear one day. And what I loved about Saint Gabriel is that he didn't just talk humility, he would show examples of humility through his actions. And one of the stories I heard was from a nun, and she was saying how a group of people came to the monastery and they was interested in learning about the monastic life. And Saint Gabriel came out and started scorning her and hurling insults at her, and she was blown back by it. She didn't know what was going on. And then Saint Gabriel gets on his knees and asks for forgiveness. And of course the nun forgave. And what Saint Gabriel was doing here was actually showing the group of people who were inquiring about the monastic life what the monastic life is like through that scenario. And it was showing them that the monastic life is about obedience, forgiveness, and love. And another story that really blew me away and inspired me was that Saint Gabriel would often go in a coffin and he would start singing psalms or singing songs and just bringing attention to himself, but he was in a coffin. And the reason he did this was to remind people that death was near, that death was promised to everyone, and that we must become humble before the Lord. And some people would actually run away in fear because of this reminder of death, because they feared death so much. And I would call it genius in the way that Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ taught humility and taught people more about themselves through his actions than anything. And it's quite funny because every time I find out about a new saint, I go, oh, maybe this will be my patron saint. The other week it was Saint Ephrem the Syrian. And now I'm looking at Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ and I'm like, oh, he'd probably be quite a good patron saint as well. And the initial one was Saint Anthony the Great. All inspirational saints. And yeah, I don't know how I'm going to pick my patron saint, but God willing, he reveals it to me in my heart and it's clear as day. But Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ is definitely up there right now. And of course, it's not just Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ who emphasizes humility and that we must walk in humility. It's really the virtue that is most looked upon in the Orthodox Church. Humility, humility, humility. This comes from obedience, love, and it can manifest in different ways. But I think the one I've learnt from the most right now is definitely Saint Gabriel the Fool, just for how humility manifested in his own life and just the love he had for Christ, that zeal he had for Christ. And God willing, one day I'll be able to go on a pilgrimage to Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ, place of veneration. But I highly recommend you watch the links I've left in the description. There's 2 videos talking about his life and it's very moving, very inspirational. It might even bring you to tears. But I hope you're having a great day, and Saint Gabriel the Fool for Christ, pray for us that we may find similar humility in our own hearts and have that zeal for Christ that you also had. God bless and have a good day.